All right, everyone. It is the policy of the Omnier Consortium that the organization, its officers, board of directors, members, and participants in its activities shall comply in all respects with federal and state antitrust and/or fair competition laws, regulations, and rules as may be applicable. Accordingly, no activity or discussion at any Omnier-sponsored meeting or other function related to competition or relating to practices that may restrain trade is permitted. Such prohibited topics include establishing prices, allocating markets, encouraging boycotts, regulating production, or any other understanding or agreement that may be construed as anti-competitive. With that, Jason, I will turn it back over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you all for taking the time to join. We are going to do a quick few Omniair updates. We're going to talk a little bit about some certifications we've awarded, Fall PlugFest coming up. Randy's going to do some working group updates. And then we have a great presentation from Martin Toto, who's the Vice President for North America Operations for AutoCrypt. It is one of several SCMS providers that we have as members, and they're just doing a lot of really wonderful things on cybersecurity for V2X and IoT around the world. They've got Martin's got a great perspective, and we're really looking forward to his remarks. Next, please. Okay, so we do have a couple of videos recording. So if anyone was interested, we have some of our presentations, our technical presentations from PlugFest, including one on eVTOL's monthly membership meetings, all on our YouTube site. So if you haven't checked it out, go to YouTube, just type in Omniair Consortium, and you'll find all of our videos. Next, please. So Omniair as an organization is a little bit unique in that we do have about 80 members from around the world that are an interesting blend of automotive OEM suppliers, SCMS providers, test labs, test equipment providers, infrastructure owner-operators, and many others that make up the connected vehicle and tolling ecosystem. So if you're not yet an Omniair member, we'd certainly welcome your inquiry. We're happy to chat with you about membership, or click on that QR code for more information. And I'm very pleased to introduce a couple of our newest members. Let's go on to the next slide. So Georgia Department of Transportation has joined, and they are a new associate level member. Georgia is the host of the ITS World Congress. We had great participation from Georgia at our Florida PlugFest. They are doing a day one deployment zone where Omniair did some validation testing at the World Congress. And so we're really, at the PlugFest that will help for devices deployed in that deployment zone. And they're just one of those organizations that's leaning forward in ITS. I don't know if Alan Davis or anyone from Georgia DOT is on the call. Well, hopefully will join us next month. Also coming into the membership is Illinois Tollway. Illinois Tollway is doing just amazing things in tolling. They're also doing a lot in V2X-based tolling. Michael Catalico and the team there has just been really very progressive and looking at that and telematics-based tolling, and even building some things in-house. I've seen recent presentations, so very excited to have them in the fold. Do we have Michael or anyone from Illinois on the call? Well, hopefully we'll get them at the next meeting, and welcome to the new members. Next, please. So we have been awarding some certifications. There's a number of devices that are in certification testing now. We just awarded certification to 2 multi-protocol readers from CAPS Trafficom that it's for our tolling certification program. We're very excited about that and looking forward to having some more announcements in the coming month. Congratulations to CAPS. And we just completed our quarterly board of directors meeting in New York City. The Port Authority of New York, New Jersey hosted. We had a great strategic discussion thinking about our strategic plan for 2026 and beyond. A lot of discussion on SCMS, a lot of discussion on network V2X, V2X-based tolling, and a number of really great things. We'll be meeting again in September. We also had a chance to tour some of the very impressive mega projects that the Port Authority is putting together, including the $10 billion Midtown bus terminal that's going to be just an incredible project. So let's go on to the next slide. And I want to ask everybody to save the date. We are going back to the great state of Michigan in October. This time we're going to the American Center for Mobility, which is at Willow Run in Ypsilanti. For those not familiar with it, it's very close to the Detroit airport, also very close to Ann Arbor, where we've been a couple of times. But ACM just has a fantastic facility that will allow us to do a few more things. Aaron Moore is leading that technical prep group. It's going to start up meetings here in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to make interoperability a theme of this event. We're also partnering with SCMS Manager, so there'll be quite a bit of the good work that SCMS Manager has been doing on validations on display there. SCMS interoperability security testing will be part of this. So if you are interested in being part of this or speaking or sponsoring the event, reach out to us. We are opening our registration on July 4th as appropriate for the American Center for Mobility, and we will have early bird discounts for the first month and hope you are able to join us in October. Next, please. So we're going to go through our working group updates. I would just note that we still have an opening for aftermarket safety devices or aftermarket V2X device working group with some balloting that's been happening in SAE. That group, someone who's willing to help drive that. If you think that you have what it takes to help drive that working group's activities to completion, please do reach out to myself or Randy Roebuck. Next, please. And speaking of Randy Roebuck, I'm going to ask Randy to give us to Roebuck. Floor is yours, sir.
Can you hear me? Am I clear? Because you were coming through a little garbled.
Yes, you're good,
Yes.
Randy.
Okay. We don't have anything in the 30-day IB review yet. Our 810 document just finished, 14-day working group valid. I have a few editorial changes to make, but it should probably be going out later this week. Jason did mention the device warding of the CAPS NPR 2.4 and 4.1. What's unique about this one is it's the first one for full MOLE protocol. In the past, we had done MOLE protocol with a 6C focus, but all three protocols tags were tested with the readers and fully conformant for the three protocols used in the United States. The V2X Technical Working Group, we've had two meetings, one on June 10th and another one on June 24th. The June 10th, we basically were focused on the detailed anomalous PlugFest results, which we presented, and then also represented those in USDOT interoperability meeting that following Thursday. We did have started a network V2X scoping discussion for testing that's going on in parallel. If SAE actually has a working group with a document J3297, which is more of a tutorial, and they're discussing moving into a standards format, which they're trying to figure out and whether it's time to do that. So its first meeting was yesterday, and they'll be meeting, I believe it's July the 9th, and I forget when the second meeting in July is going to be. Our June 24th meeting, we basically focused on preparing for the J5001 OBU spec, and they actually had a CONOX walkthrough that afternoon. So we captured the Omnier members' inputs and submitted them as part of the ConOps. And currently that walkthrough is focused on LTE VDEX devices, but they do have intent to add the network VDEX when it's appropriate. Cybersecurity, we finalizing the 840, 8.3.1, which is certificate generation instructions for ITS World Congress. If you're demoing there, then they're developing the 1609.2 negative test cases. We have started a misbehavior detection working group, and it's had at least one meeting, and it's led by Anthony Lopez. And they're also starting some network via XUU security considerations in that group. The PlugFest technical preparation group should be starting up here shortly, since it's been announced that our PlugFest will be at ACM in early October. Next slide, please. The Connect Intersect working group, they're basically starting on a traffic signal controller RSU interfacing, which is per our scope 752. It also applies a lot of the work that CTI 4001 is doing, and it's led by Eric Romont. And they're also starting up and looking at the SDMS, or central sharing messages, which is actually a very optimized way than what the PSM message was. In the application testing group, they're developing test cases for VRU and signal preemption, and they actually will have a guest speaker July 15th on with Krista Banding of Ford on his J3292 draft on automated marshaling. From what we hear, it's automated marshaling is a real important item to the automotive OEMs. The tolling and emerging payments group, we're basically formalizing the measurement methodology for doing that test. It's very specific to the EPC test methodology. And there's been a lot of work with the 6C coalitions, since their requirements are per the E-ZPass contract. And the issue is that the IC advancements has actually made the requirements that's in that document a little tight. So everybody is reviewing it together to see what the next steps on that. And the next 6C coalition focus meeting is tomorrow on June 27th. And Jason presented the VDEX technology in the E-ZPass tolling space this past June at Thousand Island facility. Jason, do you have any comments on coming out of the E-ZPass?
Well, I would just say one thing, that the E-ZPass group does represent, I think, up to almost 50 agencies now. And there's a strong interest in V2X-based tolling. So the work that we're doing in the RUC working group and the tolling working group on J3217 and 3217/R is ever more relevant. We had several presentations on both V2X-based tolling, telematics-based tolling. North Carolina presented on an RFI that they have on the street. They plan to do some really interesting work on that. Illinois Tollway is doing some very interesting work on that. Florida DOT doing some work on that. The demonstrations that both Couch did and Indra and Audi did at the SunTrax PlugFest has generated just a ton of interest. And so I think is use cases. We are, the VDX community, very much used to thinking about safety, which is incredibly important. However, there is this use case which was contemplated in the earliest days of VDX, and I think is becoming much more relevant now. And part of the reasoning is that the spectrum that is being used for RFID tolling is under some threat with a rebanding proposal that the Federal Communications Commission is considering. And so fundamentally, they are aware that they need to look at other and new technologies as options, and V2X is something that's ripe for that. And I think as an organization, we need to put more resources in and have more volunteers on drafting test cases on 3217 for those standards compliant TAM and TOM messages to ensure that OBUs and RSUs can be used in a tolling environment. And that's going to be a big initiative of ours kicking off in September. And so if you're interested in being part of that and you have some skill sets and drafting test cases, please see Randy or myself. But otherwise, great meeting. And, Thousand Islands is just a wonderful part of the world, especially on a hot summer day like this. Turn it back over to you, sir.
That's actually a pretty nice lead in because I've started working with the two folks with the J3217 demonstrations where we captured PCAPs and analyzed them. And actually, I've been working with both of them for what I saw with the test tools and seeing what was coming over the air. And is definitely a development in progress, and we need to work together for conformance and interoperability from those. And I actually will do some presentation on VDEX fundamentals and what the BSM really can give you, because we got some questions that from the PlugFest results that how should they interpret them, so-called, in the thing. The VDEX has a very strong and very accurate and path generation that you just don't get with the RFID tolling. So I'll be giving some VDEX fundamentals. Actually, we'll do one in the tolling group, which is July the 9th, and I'll follow up that presentation and do some video demos on July the 9th, help kickstart this effort. Then our certifications policy group, we really didn't have a topic in the last minute. So Lori, the chair, presented CAPS VDEX tolling demonstration. And she also gave a presentation to ITS America on this topic and kind of walk through that. Next slide. This is a summary results that part of our detailed anomalous test results that we did. So the industry is making progress. Our PlugFest is about technology readiness and trying new things and seeing how they work. We did get one device now that's working in the radio config with SLSS. And once that gets demonstrated by all the devices using the various technologies, then the industry can decide to make a changeover. We also tried identity certs, and that's one of the topics in yesterday's ConOps, as far as the switching between pseudonym certs and identity certs for public safety vehicles. And what are the rules and behaviors that's desired there. We actually just demonstrated congestion control. It's been a long time coming. We had that with the Waities test tool, and we also had a presentation from Keysight where they can do some on the bench and hope to bring more of it this fall. All devices really demonstrated certificates usage from all 4 SCMS providers, and it looks like we can kind of move forward with the standard 1609.2.1 in its process moving forward. We had quite a bit of device variety to help the Cecil Tech test tool for its evolution. We had the Wades OBU test results, and all these results were kind of combined together and gave a so-called an evaluation of OBUs who were looking to participate at ITS World Congress in their field testing, and we provided that in a anonymous professional way. Are there any other questions for me? I'll hand it over back to Jason for his itinerary.
Thank you, Randy. Appreciate that. And that one edit, that Autotalks-based device might just now be a Qualcomm-based device, since the acquisition was finally approved. So we're excited to bring the Autotalks folks back into Omniair. Sean Cho, who's the president of AutoCrypt North America, had to fly last minute somewhere around the globe. Not quite sure. Maybe Martin can read us into that. But we are very pleased to have Martin Todov, who is the vice president of North America Operations AutoCrypt. Martin has been involved in innumerable Omniair Plugfests. He has been incredibly helpful in advancing SCMS testing and interoperability. And he's going to provide some unique insights, I think, on the various areas of the global market and some exciting things AutoCrypt's working on. Martin, what part of the world do we find you in today?
Hello, Jason. Thank you for the kind introduction, and hello, everybody. Thank you for your time. So currently, I'm in Seoul, South Korea. It's a little bit humid outside, a little bit hot. I guess the monsoon season is coming in. So I heard from the news that the US is also under quite like a big heat wave is coming in for you. So I guess everybody's under a hot weather now.
It's a little bit hot, but that's okay. But thank you so much for doing this, and thank you for staying up late to do this. And the floor is yours, sir. And I ask everybody to put questions for our speaker in the chat box, because I'm sure you'll have a bunch.
Thank you very much. I'm just gonna try to share my screen real quick. I hope everybody can see the screen, right?
Yes, yes.
Perfect. Yeah, so thank you, everybody, for this opportunity to present AutoCrypt's insights on V2X PKI and SCMS as a whole. You know, the V2X market is still technically in its early stages, but you know, if we take into consideration the number of deployed connected road infrastructure and V2X enabled vehicles on the road, so it's still in infancy, but the public and the private sectors, you know, are slowly but steadily pushing forward with various initiatives, and there are still some limitations in allowing the general public to experience the convenience and the benefits of the technology itself. But I want to share some insights and lessons learned from our limited experience throughout projects we have done, let's say, for example, with public agencies and with OEMs with this presentation today. And just sorry. Okay, so yeah, so just briefly to introduce the company, we're AutoCrypt. We provide solutions and services that address mostly security requirements related to vehicle and their management systems. This includes connectivity security, such as V2X, of course, as a technology, protection of in-vehicle CAN communications, analysis of data and logs generated by the ECUs for vehicle monitoring and protection, establishment of automotive cybersecurity management systems as required by UN regulations, and of course ISO SAE 2144, and various security testing tools and services. Our solutions just cover a wide range from communications happening inside the vehicle to outside communications towards the vehicle. at various stages of the vehicle's life cycle. This includes solutions from the manufacturing process for both OEMs and their suppliers in vehicle cybersecurity, and various solutions for external communications. We also provide, as I mentioned, consulting services. And when we talk about the vehicle security and its establishment of management systems, it can be just a little bit difficult maybe to grasp the concept completely. But this includes building cybersecurity management systems, monitoring in vehicle data communications throughout the intrusion detection system, analyzing data that's happening inside the vehicle. And this data is usually shared with vehicle operations center. It's just that cybersecurity, and especially automotive cybersecurity, just has evolved into this very complex beast in a way, and we're just trying to tame that beast and to provide these services to companies and to agencies which are looking for just to enhance their cybersecurity. But when it comes to V2X PKI or SMS related topics, we usually largely divide them into two categories. One involves the establishment of a backend management system through with projects with some well-known automakers or with public institutions. But it seems, however, that the requirements differ between the OEM projects and also from projects which are led by public agencies, as usually their goals and just management styles are just vastly different. But we are seeing a trend where original or OEMs are implementing customized SMS interface layers between the vehicles and the brands of vehicles that they provide and the regional SMS vendors, which usually with the regional SMS, which is usually operated by a third-party vendor with experience in that certain region or that certain market. The customization of V2X PKI systems, just typically involves an additional system in between the OBU and the SMS provider, which just adds a layer of security by ensuring that the OBU is authorized for enrollment. And usually, such customization also provides the OEM with not only with enhanced security, but also provides with better operational control and just an extra layer of management of the certificates for those vehicles, regardless of the brand that is under that certain OEM group or that certain market segment. Usually, this type of implementation also allows for keeping the third-party SMS vendor separate from the manufacturing process, just by giving the OEMs this just enhanced level of control over the various aspects of the system without just giving too much control on the vendor side. And usually the use of third-party vendors is probably the most efficient move as an OEM, as they can ensure that the regional standards are met. And usually, if they have to do it by themselves, this usually incurs a significant cost in the deployment of the system, while still maintaining control. So pretty much you have the benefits of just reducing in a way the deployment cost by just using somebody else's services. But when it comes to the public sector, the public sector just views slightly different their goals from what the private sector is looking for. And of course, this is naturally just how these type of organizations work. And a project for the public sector usually has vastly different requirements, being rather more straightforward and simple compared to the requirements of an OEM. And public agencies are usually restricted to operating an SMS for roadside infrastructure and usually for public service vehicles, which are deployed in that certain administrative borders. And of course, it's usually just mixed up, or it's in a tandem with a traffic management solution for that certain region under that agency. SMS requirements also differ between the different regions. So, as some regions prefer to operate the system on site due to maybe national regulations on security for systems which could be considered of national importance. But except that, the SMS requirements are pretty much straightforward, as in compliance with the regional standard, of course, capability to interface or be part of a certain regional certificate trust list, and of course scalable performance when the infrastructure expands outside of what is currently being deployed or what is currently being as part of a certain project that they're going on, that's in progress. And so we're noticing a trend where the expectations and the focus of these agencies are, they're pretty much focusing on good performance, on collaboration, also with potentially with OEMs. So deployment can be accelerated just accelerate the deployment and bring V2X technology a little bit faster. So so this session, maybe I would like to just share a few real-world cases and studies and some insights that we have gathered. So so with OEMs, from our experience with SMS or CCMS deployments for OEMs, this has taught us that OEMs rely on their vendor just having very good flexibility and of course expert knowledge, so the vendor can provide a custom interface specifically for those needs of the OEM, and having distinct regional regulations and standards is always a challenge because it restricts the use of just a more unified system. But by utilizing the services of a regional vendor combined with a special interface layer between the vehicle and the SMS vendor, it just allows the OEM to keep control over the provisioning process, the management of the certificates, without giving too much control of the system to the SMS vendor itself. This also is helpful in case the OEM decides to migrate to a different vendor, or if there is a potential regulation that mandates that the OEMs need to operate certain system or the SMS internally. For now, we don't see there is no such indications. But regulations, of course, evolve, and it's essential for OEMs and for SMS vendors to be ready for any case or any potential evolution in the regulations of that certain region. The Korean government's SMS endeavors is an interesting case. It's been a long project with iterations that have helped the system evolve over time. And the latest iteration of this grander project is concluding very soon. This large-scale SMS deployment started as a system based on CAMP LLC's guidelines and is now evolving into a system based on a standard customized specifically for the specificities of the Korean region and the Korean market itself. This recent iteration was an interesting opportunity to establish an SCMS specifically designed to implement this new KS standard for CITS message security, which was officially enacted in December 2024. So it was enacted just a few months ago, although the older system, which is based on CAMP's guidelines, was already operational. The release of the standard required the system to be upgraded to follow 1609.2.1 standard, which serves as pretty much the basis for that Korean standard. And an important aspect of the upgrade was to expand the system rather than rebuild it from scratch, which required significant effort at the design stage to comply with what the project's budget was allocated, and also with the requirements, while also meeting the standards which was supposed to be followed on for this project. Usually, and also evaluating what components could be shared between the legacy and the new system, and the subsequent, of course, development and integration, which was essential for the success of the project. So evaluation was just a very important step in this endeavor. And the project also had a significant security requirement due to it being a system of national significance, thus needing just a significant level of security itself. And so yeah, finally, pretty much the project just presented a very great opportunity to design, develop, and just validate a new system with an opportunity to reuse some of the components of the previous system, so we can avoid scrapping it altogether or just implementing something new. And of course, as pretty much as a good lesson learned was that this, of course, saves just a significant cost, but it also promotes just a more flexible and sustainable deployment of V2X PKI systems. Yeah, so implications and lessons. It's only natural for the private and the public sectors to have different requirements from V2X PKIs or from SMS vendors, as the needs and scope are just vastly different from what we have experienced and observed. We see there's a speed up of V2X deployment for the Chinese market specifically. Also, this is followed by the EU market. Unfortunately, maybe plans for the North American markets are not on the same pace as what is going on with the other regions, but hopefully this will change soon, and we can see also more accelerated deployment in North America. Integration and customization efforts are a major concern for OEMs because there are certain expectations from the service vendors to provide just a stable, scalable service while still retaining control over the provisioning process, which usually happens at the end of the production line, and that is under the scope of the OEM itself. While there is an increased interest in 609.2.1 based SMS, there are also opinions that it needs to be tested more. It needs to be around to be tested around the spectrum, so to reach just a certain level of confidence. And as you all might know, CAN-based SMS has been tested throughout various projects over the years, and it's just natural for the industry just to have a little bit more confidence in what has been tested out already throughout the years. It's essential just to accelerate SMS interoperability testing and overall security testing. However, the largest maybe implication we felt is the silent expectation for either side to invest more in the active deployment of V2X. Hopefully, that the accelerated deployment in other regions could also maybe help push the North American market to just accelerate V2X in the region, because we're just noticing that China is just one step ahead, and Europe, even though Europe is not as fast as China, there's still some indications that Europe is proceeding at just a little bit faster pace. And also we notice MBD is a hot topic in the world of V2X. Also, it's a great indication because we just saw in the slides that there is a new MBD related working group in Omnier, and so hopefully this is going to just bring just more interest to everybody who's involved in the technology and on the topic itself. We expect the topic just to, of course, continue evolving, as it is currently in what we believe it's early stages. However, OEMs are preparing for it by implementing local MBD at the device level, and of course a corresponding global MBD, which is covered by the backend side. When developing an MBD algorithm, the standards for the MBD reporting already existed. However, applying them to the tier one client was challenging due to the need for vehicle data and data from other vehicles, which the company just did not yet possess. So because they were just producing the devices, and MBD policies also would be essential, as they could impact either side of the detection, potentially affecting the V2X deployment goals of the OEMs. But interoperability testing would be essential just due to the complex nature of MBD, and by interoperability testing at events like the Omnier Plugfest, there's just going to be easier access to devices, easier access to vehicles, easier access to just a wider range of SMS vendors, because usually when such a development happens, either they use, if they have of course an internal SMS, or if they have a partner, they just use that one system. So it's just better to have everybody on the same location, sitting down and just testing it out. And hopefully with the new working group, and also with the advancements of the standardization, we can probably see MBD related testing in the near future as well. So one also exciting development which are underway in the Chinese market is particularly the misbehavior detection and the advanced safety standards. So YDT, or the Chinese agency that's responsible for the standardization of different communications and just overall different technologies, they have released a new standard called YDT 4774-2024, which the standard pretty much marks a significant step forward, laying a very solid foundation for managing abnormal behavior, but specifically managing abnormal behavior in CV2X system. But it's also very important to know that MBD in China is also in very early stage. And while the standard just lays that foundation, the foundation for classifying what is abnormal behavior, how monitoring and detection mechanism should work, and the data structure that is expected from this, it will also need a lot of testing, and of course a lot of collaboration between the OEMs and maybe the testing centers and the providers of SMS, just to validate the technology, or the validate misbehavior detection in greater detail. Sorry, okay, yep, it's working. I hope my screen has also changed. So just in this segment, I just like to share insight from working with an OEM in India. This OEM specifically sought a customized SMS for the India market only. And as you already know, the Indian region is still in its beginning. It's just beginning to explore V2X related regulations and potential standards for the Indian market. The OEM wanted to implement a system which is based on the European CCMS rather than the SCMS. And the system was expected to be deployed on their own private infrastructure with their own certificate trust list, and an option to be able to migrate to a national certificate trust list if or when such a CTL starts operation in India. Another requirement was the integration with their own production line backend. So a custom provisioning interface was needed that connects with the SMS while keeping both systems operational separately and independent from each other. So yeah, we're noticing that India is I believe that officially, not only officially, but most of the efforts were kicked out later at Q3 or Q4 of last year, and hopefully we can expect just more developments coming in from the region. And there's also very big manufacturers of vehicles over there. There's of course a lot of vehicles, but still it's just in its early stages, and when it comes to infrastructure, it just might take a little bit more time. But I think the government and the involved stakeholders are aggressive, and we might expect seeing more from the region when it comes to V2X. And one great insight and experience that from the past year is we were invited to participate in the first interoperability event organized by the US DOT in Wyoming last year. The event focused, you might already know, but the event focused on testing V2X applications with team messages, and around 50 tests were conducted with devices bootstrapped to two different SMS vendors. So security was included on top of the usual technical feature tests. The test, from our perspective, highlighted that the need for collaboration among the diverse stakeholders in the industry, and it was a great first step. And although the second event, which was scheduled to be part of the previous PlugFest, was unfortunately canceled, we still remain hopeful that there's going to be more in the future. And also we believe that the more DOT-led testing is going to be also essential for advancing the technology and V2X deployments in the US, and also essential just in verifying that the various stakeholders are in sync and interoperability is tested out thoroughly. And initiatives like Omnier, PlugFest, and US DOT-led tests, I believe will be crucial for CITS efforts, and we hope there will be just more in the future. And now with the fall PlugFest being having its main focus also on interoperability and cybersecurity, I believe that's going to be a great opportunity to test out and to just put the spotlight a little bit more on the security side and interoperability, which is going to be, of course, a great push for the industry and for all the different stakeholders which are involved. Which also leads me to how we envision potential future of interoperability tests and how this could look like based on what we have experienced previously from just working with OEMs and agencies and participating in Omnier, PlugFest, and observing how things are happening around the world. We noticed that there could be some discrepancies between the different vendors, just due to reasons, let's say, for example, like certain customizations or just a way of just different interpretations of maybe the standards or certain guidelines. But we believe that the test should be expanded just to involve just a wider range of vendors, wider range of devices, and of course wider ranges of V2X messages as the more we test the technology as at its various layers, the more we can ensure that even the edge cases have been tested out and nothing has been missed out. This, of course, leads to just a greater confidence in the technology, greater confidence in the stakeholders, in the regulations and the standards. And interoperability testing is it could be in its early stages, but it's just now it's the time to just gain momentum for the sake of just improving the services and just verifying that all technical points are covered and everything is in sync and everything is as it's expected to be, so everything just works out as fluidly as possible. I believe it's critical to verify features and compliance we must thoroughly validate enrollment and certificate provisioning to just to ensure that the systems operate reliably and meet all standards. It's vital just to verify discrepancies, if there's any discrepancies between the different vendors, and to test out multi-SMS interoperability, because we're looking at just several SMS operating in the various regions, be it SMS of a certain OEM or be it an agency SMS. And we just need to confirm that any vendor, if there's been any customizations or anything that needs, how it's following, that everything pretty much still align with what is already has been established, and there's no impede. Everything is pretty much seamless, and the interactions are seamless across the different SMS environments. And of course, lastly, we just need to have a security. We need to have V2X security and SMS certification that tests with actual vehicles on a test track. And I believe Omnier PlugFest is a great accelerator for such certification and for such testing. Just testing overall guarantees that connected vehicle systems are communicating securely, reliably, just across the different vendors and the different devices and the different vehicle brands, and just vendors are also just providing the services as it's expected. And just a final slide. I hope I didn't take too much of your time, but just a summary of the insights is that SMS, of course, it's essential. It's part of the technology, it's part of the standard, and is just the perfect time for the industry just to proactively test out V2X security, and just increased testing is going to allow us to just uncover and address any potential edge cases that might have previously gone unnoticed. And furthermore, ensuring that interoperability among the different vendors and the different stakeholders in the ecosystem is crucial for just verifying that the standards have laid out the good foundation, and just built overall just credibility in the technology. Therefore, testing and interoperability events are vital for the future of CITS, not just in North America, but pretty much all over the world. Thank you.
Wow, Martin, that's a fantastic presentation. It's a whirlwind tour through a very complicated subject. And I love the fact that you kind of took us around the globe. I'm going to invite folks to put in any questions you might have for our speaker in the chat box, but I'm going to use moderator's prerogative and maybe get the ball rolling. I want to just think about, as we think about sort of this kind of global perspective as you operate in different markets, what are you seeing some things that either China or Korea or even India or Europe or Gulf states are doing, one on misbehavior detection and two on SCMS interoperability, that really here in the United States, something we should be considering, some lessons learned that may be useful. Because I know in some areas, some regions are maybe a little ahead of where we are, and just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so for specifically for misbehavior detection, it's good just to try out, because misbehavior detection is not only going to happen on the backend side, it's going to happen on the device side, and I'm not sure if most of the devices are able to just run an additional algorithm that's going on. Some devices might have some limited processing power, and it would be essential just to test out and to have a misbehavior detection algorithm that's going to be that's not going to take over some of the application processing power, but it's still going to do enough to be able to filter out any misbehaving devices. So it's also going to be great to just test out potential cases which are potential cases that have not yet been defined. So maybe just something that pops up in my mind is let's say, for example, it's easy just to test out if a car is driving with 500 kilometers per hour, you receive a message from that car. It just makes sense to just block it, or at least
Mhm.
report it that it's just not possible. At least road legal cars are not yet able to drive with 500 kilometers per hour. But let's say, for example, if there's a case where you're consistently receiving messages from a vehicle which is driving behind you at the same speed with you, and it's just constantly following you, tailgating you in a way. Can also that be, should the device consider that vehicle as misbehaving? Because in a way you can follow a car for several kilometers or several miles, and just because you're in the same direction. And okay, so how long should you consider this vehicle? It's at which point you should consider the vehicle is misbehaving or not, if there's such a case, of course, if such a case could be considered as a potential threat to you in a way. So say just that there's misbehavior. It's a very open and broad topic, and it's going to be very interesting to just explore it deeper and just filter out any cases. But
I mean, that's very interesting. I mean, so there's a lot of work needed to define what misbehavior is and is not, and what might trigger certain warnings or blocking or just to ignore it. But I think I think it's a really interesting problem. What do you think on SCMS interoperability?
Yeah, SMS interoperability. So the previous Plugfest, from what you just also shared, that everything, most of the devices are already capable of interfacing with 609.2.1, and it's great to just to test out when you have let's say everybody under one certificate trust list. So it's
Mhm.
so you can see that the different vendors are trusting each other, but also it's good to test out. Let's say, for example, what if we can just put one vendor, for example, as somebody who's not part of the trust list, so we can test out if the messages from that vendor are going to be ignored by the other devices. So how can we use the opportunity to have all the vendors in one place so we can test out cases which are not going to be easy to be tested out, or it's just not easy to test out when you're just separately, right? So yeah, cases if let's say one vendor is excluded from the CTL, are the other devices which have received certificates, are they also ignoring those certain messages? And yeah, so interoperability is the more we have it, the more, I believe, the more cases and the more topics we can uncover for
Well, I know that's something that we've talked about. We did our virtual testing event, and we did our Plug Fest, and we want to plan to make that true SCMS interoperability a feature of this event, and would love to get your involvement as we prepare for October. Um, we have a couple questions in the chat box, and maybe we'll turn over to Jeff Zhao has a question. If ETSI CCMS standard is chosen by India, will they use ECTL, TLM in different levels of trust community environments? So am I correct that India is leaning toward ETSI standards just generally for C-V2X, or is this specific to the SCMS?
Yeah, so this certain case, because the OEM we worked with is pretty much the first one to introduce V2X technology onto the market, and they themselves chose the ETSI standard over the North American, or pretty much the IEEE system that 2.1. And
And
I know
is that a choice by the OEM, or is that directed by the Indian government?
it was a choice by the OEM, but they are working very closely with the Indian government on
Okay.
just providing them with more insights on V2X. And also, I believe the government is also very interested in what they're doing, because they're going to be able to learn from that deployment of that OEM. And at this point, there's not enough infrastructure on the road, I understand. So we're just going to be able probably seeing uh, communications just between that certain brand of vehicles. But the government, from what they understand, is also having very great interest in the technology itself. So I think that they're just going to catch up eventually to that OEM when it comes to
Okay.
V2X infrastructure and probably testing and in choosing which exactly what standard because they might just go for something that's very specific for the Indian market because it's a big country. There's also big population. There's a lot of vehicles on the road, so they might just need to tweak a standard. Might need to base it off a certain standard, just tweak it off for that specificity, that specific region.
1.4 billion people, that's a pretty big market. Great opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so then we had a question from Anthony Lopez about what are your thoughts on the firewall components of the India OEM architecture? Do you think it's a helpful feature to have?
Yeah, so the India OEM, the firewall component was so where the SMS is positioned from what I understand is just it's deeper in their overall backend infrastructure. So the firewall, they already have several layers of firewall which are happening, and the way that they just keep the SMS from outside of any other, let's say, because the SMS is just for their own vehicles and for their own brands, so they're not looking into providing SMS to other vehicles or other brands at this point in time, from what I understand. So just having that on, but the Korean one, so the Korean market and the Korean SMS is the firewall was an interesting component from what I understand from my colleagues who worked on the project, was that it's just because usually when it comes to infrastructure and public infrastructure in Korea, agencies and the government, the Korean government, are just much more sensitive on the topic. Just it makes sense because you have a neighbor which is not playing, on the same wavelength like everybody else, and that's why it's just natural for the country to be a lot more sensitive when it comes to just important infrastructure, and that's why that firewall implementation was very important for them.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, sir. I'm going to open the floor up. Are there any other questions for Martin? I see my internet is a little bit unstable at the moment, so I apologize if my voice is muddled. Do we have any other questions for our speaker? Well, Martin, I think you answered all the questions. Fantastic. Just a great presentation.
Thank you very
very
much
much.
for the opportunity.
And I'm going to turn it over to Berkenda to close us out.
Thank you so much, Martin. Thank you, Jason. Let me just grab the screen here for you all to show you kind of our last slide. All right, so we have a special event coming up. So we have what we're doing is an OmniAir 101. I don't know if those of you who participated in so we were part of the Toll Insight Tolling Innovations Workshop just right after PlugFest in May. And so we've extended a special invite to that group to kind of see what OmniAir is about. But a lot of you, because we invite everyone to these meetings, may not be aware of all the different functionalities. This is going to be a quick 25-30-minute webinar, so we'd love to have you join us. That's going to be on June 30th, so this coming Monday. So feel free to join us. You can sign up clicking that QR code or zooming in on that QR code. And that's pretty much all we have for the day. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next month if we don't see you on this webinar. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.